Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards, and in this video I want to talk about 3 players that I am high on heading into 2026. The 2026 Major League Baseball season is here, and every year I like to make a video where I look at like 3 players that I think could have their card values increase for various reasons heading into the new baseball season. This particular year there's 3 players, and I know I'm going to say a few of them and people are going to be like, oh, that's not a very bold pick. What I'm saying here is there's really 3 ways to make money on baseball cards in a short time frame. The first way is traditional prospecting. That's looking at prospects who haven't made their Major League debut yet. You buy them, they debut, you sell your cards, you make your money. The second way is young Major League Baseball stars that have not really broken out yet, either in Major League Baseball or in the hobby. They may be really good at one of those 2 things, but not the other. Once they're good at both, once they're collected in the hobby, and once they're playing well in the field, their card values go up. Pretty simple. So that's another opportunity you could look at. And the last one is underappreciated superstars or sleeper Hall of Famers. So players who are on a Hall of Fame path that the public hasn't realized yet. If we look at Jose Ramirez, he's a very good example of this. For years ago, last like 4 years or so, people didn't realize how good Jose Ramirez was. We now know, and his cards are now more expensive. So those are the type of players that I also personally look at when I'm looking at baseball cards, because they have a little bit less risk, even though they have a little bit less upside. So very first player is Gunnar Henderson. And Gunnar Henderson already has a pretty strong baseball card hobby, but I don't think people are as high on him as they should be. And I do think there is a pathway where if he plays well this year, people would realize how well he actually is compared to historical comparisons. So very first thing I'll note, Gunnar Henderson is only 24 years old. He doesn't turn 25 until about June or July of this year, and he has 21.4 WAR. That's really good. If that sounds really good, only like 20 players in baseball history have done that, and he's one of them. If we want to look over at Fangraphs WAR, he has 18.1, slightly less. They calculate defense a little bit differently, but overall, Gunnar Henderson's on a great path right now. What I will note is this last year, he had 5.3 WAR, 17 home runs, 274 batting average, and a 121 OPS plus. OPS plus is looking at league average, so he's 21% better than league average offensively, which is really good for a average to above average defensive shortstop. I will also note that Gunnar Henderson missed all of spring training with an oblique injury, and he played the entirety of last season with a shoulder impingement. Both of those things suppressed his numbers, and he still had a 5.3 WAR. That's why I like Gunnar. The year prior, in 2024, when he was only 23 years old, he was a top 5 MVP candidate. And realistically, if he had this year, in the past, probably 30 to 60% of the time he wins MVP with the year that he had. 9.1 WAR. He had 37 home runs, 281 batting average, 893 OPS, and a 155 OPS plus. That's really good for a shortstop. But either way, that is there. I think that potential is still there. A lot of home runs were suppressed due to injury, but I think he can bounce back to where he was as a 23-year-old. And again, only 25 this next year. It doesn't turn 25 until halfway through the season. All those reasons I like Gunnar. Here he is compared to other historical comp shortstops. So I have some shortstops that flamed out, like Nomar Garciaparra. I also have Corey Seager, who's active. I also have Troy Tulowitzki. Those guys did not make the Hall of Fame. I also included Ernie Banks, Derek Jeter, Francisco Lindor, Cal Ripken, and Barry Larkin, all of which are or will be Hall of Famers. Gunnar Henderson is this green line right here. He is above everybody not named Francisco Lindor or Cal Ripken. And again, through age 24, he's one of the best performing shortstops of all time. We'll look at that in a minute from actual numbers as well. But I just wanted to show the path that he's on. Let's say this next year he has a 6 WAR. That puts him up here, and he's just continually outpacing all these other collected or Hall of Fame shortstops, which I think is worth seeing. After that, I want to just point out in regards to WAR through age 24 for a shortstop, we have A-Rod with 35 WAR, Cal Ripken Jr. 27.8, Francisco Lindor 22.8, but Gunnar is 7th all time, only since integration, since 1950. He's actually 7th with 18.1, just trailing Bobby Witt Jr. at 18.7. So they both line up really well. That's really impressive. Right ahead of Robin Yount, ahead of other players like Alan Trammell, other Hall of Famers as well, which is good. Next up is WRC Plus, which is looking at, it's called Weighted Runs Created Plus. It's like OPS Plus, but it takes into consideration how you get on base. But either way, that league average is 100. So WRC Plus leaders for shortstops all time. Gunnar Henderson is 5th right now with a 132 for his career, which is insane. So again, goes to show how good he is offensively. So I like the idea of Gunnar Henderson. Let's talk about his pros. All-time performance so far. He's doing great. He has the it factor. He's really cool in the field. He looks good, does all the good plays. We have seen his potential floor this last year when he was injured and still put up 5 WAR, which is really impressive. And he's very cheap compared to other star players. The cons. He's not Bobby Witt Jr. We do this thing in the hobby where there's one good young player and nobody else can challenge them. Honestly, Gunnar is lined up relatively well with Bobby at this point. I think Bobby is the better player. I think everybody can agree with that. And he has probably the better ceiling, but Gunnar is still pretty good. But one con is Bobby Witt Jr. exists, so it's hard to give Gunnar as much attention as he deserves. Next up is the lockout season. That's a big concern for a lot of players, not just Gunnar, but basically everybody in this list. Every player in Major League Baseball, we might miss a prime season of Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and that's pathetic. Injuries might be an issue. He was injured this last year, unfortunately, with a shoulder impingement and an oblique. That's not good. And you just have a lot of rookie cards, which can make it confusing. But that's the first player. I have bought some cards of Gunnar Henderson, so I am excited about him heading into 2026. Next up is Ronald Acuna Jr., and this is the one people comment, oh, really bold pick, picking Acuna. What this is, it is kind of a bold pick, actually, because I'm saying I think his cards will go up from where they're at right now, based off of Acuna missed a lot of time due to injury, but I like a lot of things that we saw this past year. He also came into spring training and said, I'm 200% is what he was saying. Basically, he says he feels fantastic. But for Acuna's career so far, he still stacks up really well. Through his age 27 season, he has 28.6 baseball reference WAR, 31.9 Fangraphs WAR. He has a 141 career OPS plus, a 908 career OPS. He also has the 40-70 season. He has an MVP. He has a Rookie of the Year. He has 5 All-Star appearances, I believe. All these things are still really helping his case. He just has missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of time with 2 ACL injuries and a COVID-shortened season, and he might have a lockout season next year. That's 4 prime seasons we might miss of Acuna, which is really scary. I do think voters will take that into some sort of consideration when he's on the ballot, just like they do with some players who went to war back in like World War II or Vietnam War. Either way, with Acuna, I do think he has potential this year because of what we saw when he came back from injury. He had 3 WAR, he had 21 home runs, a 290 average, a 935 OPS, and a 163 OPS plus this past year. That's an incredible year. If he would have played the whole season, you're looking at like a 5 to 6 WAR player, which is great. So I think he can do that again. I think he'll transform into a slugger. I think he'll still get like 40 home runs every year. I think that's who he's going to become. So here's Acuna versus other Hall of Fame caliber outfielders. I included Eric Davis because people compare him to Eric Davis, how he's going to tail off due to injury. Eric Davis actually is pretty far below where Acuna currently is, but he's right below Bryce Harper, right above Vladimir Guerrero, and well above Larry Walker. So it's not over for Acuna, and I think he still has a great path. Just like Bryce Harper, get 3 to 4 WAR every year for the next 4 or 5 years, and he's doing really well. His cards are also down. Here is his Sapphire rookie card. This is a PSA 10. Right here was the peak in 2021, but even since like 2023, he is down or flat, and I think this card is so cool that it could go up, as an example. Here's his 2 super short print variations from Topps Update, both of which are also down pretty significantly from his peak in like 2022-2023 era. And lastly are his Bowman Chrome autographs. The best time to buy was when he was injured and not playing, obviously, or right when he came back from injury, but either way, he is still down from his relative peaks back in 2023 and early 2024. So Acuna, I think there's potential. I bought some Acuna as well. All the players on this list I have acquired cards of this offseason, which is why I'm looking at them. But I think if he can just stay healthy, put up 5 WAR, it's going to do really great things for his hobby and his career. Pros of Acuna: awards and accomplishments already done. He's still pretty young, which is nice, and he's going to be changing his game, which we've already kind of see him do. Cons: he's injured a lot. 2 ACL injuries is not good. Almost probably 4 lost seasons, including next year. His speed and defense is not really there anymore. Hopefully he can still steal some bags this year, but it's not a guarantee. So that's Ronald Acuna Jr. And the last player is more of a Hail Mary. This is one that is just kind of like my sleeper pick, I should say, and that's Trea Turner. You look at his baseball reference page, you look at his Fangraphs page, and they're quite different. They tell a different story. Fangraphs has him at 47.6 career WAR, which is really good, while Baseball Reference has him like at 42 WAR, which is significantly less. And this is because they calculate defense slightly differently. Offensive and base running, they're probably pretty close, but the big difference is how they calculate defense. And so Fangraphs is kind of becoming more accepted in the mainstream industry of baseball as a whole. And so it's good he has good Fangraphs WAR, but it's one of those arguments like which one's better? It's like whatever one fits your narrative better. So for this argument, I'm going to look at Fangraphs because it fits my narrative better. But either way, he has a lot of really great things going for him that I'll show in just a moment. But one thing I want to point out is his baseball savant numbers down here. This is all relative to like the league. So he was 86th percentile, so better than 86% of the league and in actual batting. Base running, he was 99th percentile, and defense, he was 94th percentile, which is great to see for a 32-year-old. But this is what I want to show that I think is so cool. When he was a rookie, he had 100th percentile speed with 30.0 feet per second. As a 32-year-old, he had 30.3 feet per second, also in the 100th percentile, showing even though he might be slowing down offensively a little bit, his speed is still there, which means he'll probably age pretty good compared to other players who rely on speed. And that actually brings me up to this question: how many shortstops have 400 stolen bases and 200 home runs? Only one, and that is Honus Wagner. If we go from integration, there are 0 shortstops that have that accomplishment, and Trea Turner should get there. He has 186 home runs, and he actually has 315 stolen bases. So at the end of his career, he should be in this really exclusive club. I will also note, if we want to look at WAR for shortstops all time, Trea Turner ranks 12th with 47.6 WAR all time. Well, since 1950, I gotta say that again. I'm doing it since integration. But either way, still very impressive. 1950 was a long time ago, 80 years ago, essentially. So pretty cool to see there that he's doing so well. And even for BSR, which is like calculate base running runs, he is 3rd all time at 66.8 and should easily pass Jimmy Rollins and Jose Reyes by the end of his career. And look at his offensive output versus everybody on this list. He has a weighted runs created plus, which again, 100 is league average. He's at 122 versus 103 of Jose Reyes, who is basically league average, and 95 of Jimmy Rollins, who is below league average. Getting the speed and offensive potential in one package is just unheard of. WRC plus all time for shortstops. Again, we have Gunnar here at number 4, and then we have Trea Turner at number 10, which is still pretty cool. A top 10 offensive shortstop according to that metric. That will go down as he ages. But either way, still very impressive. His cards aren't very expensive. Here he is for his Bowman Chrome PSA 10 autograph. Not a huge pop, 106 cards. The last one was $224. That's well down since his peak. Even his peak in 2024, he's way down since then. Here he is in the last 12 months for that exact card, down 23%, even though he was really good and got MVP votes. Here is his Bowman Chrome BGS 9.5 refractor, first Bowman autograph, down 30% since 2021. And from February, it's down quite a bit as well. Here's that big drop off. And then his Sapphire rookie in a PSA 10. This card since, 2021, he was at $600. If we want to look at 2024, he was around $250. The last sale was $88. So it goes to show there's potential for Turner. Here he is versus Xander Bogaerts. He's not a slam dunk Hall of Fame case, but I think Turner, if we want to look at like how many games he played versus Bogaerts, has done a ton of stuff in a very short amount of time. And there's still a little bit of gas left in the tank, it feels like, versus Bogaerts, who's really slowed down with the Padres, unfortunately. But I show this to say it's not a guarantee. Don't go buy his cards thinking he's a Hall of Famer. I think he'll probably get there, but that's a bold take on this situation. The pros and cons of Trea Turner. Pros, analytics and Fangraphs WAR love him. He is aging better than anyone expected. Low quantity of rookie cards, very few, so it's very easy to pick the right ones. The case against Turner, I said Acuna, forgive me, against Turner. His age, he'll be 33 next year. Has he really ever felt like a Hall of Famer? Does it matter if he plays well? He could slow down with typical regression that we see from older players. All those things should be concerning for you. But either way, I do like Trea Turner, and I do think there's potential, and I bought some of his cards as well. So those are 3 players I like heading into this season and players whose cards I purchased. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with me, and I will see you in the next video.